What does some forms of Christianity have in common with political correctness?
Halloween is the devil's holiday. You've got witches and ghouls and goblins. That's all witches.
Usually around September every year, stores start putting out Halloween stuff, and then you start seeing all these crazy videos on YouTube about all these legalistic Pharisee Christian people on the internet that are acting like Halloween's some crazy satanic thing. And guys, I'm just telling you, it's not that big a deal. Y'all can settle it down a little bit, okay?
We're talking about Benjamin Franklin Day Elementary. They decided that they would cancel Halloween festivities because of concerns over equity and inclusivity. And specifically, they make the claim that their black male students do not celebrate Halloween, that black teens in general don't, and so they want to get rid of it.
Now, I know some might think Halloween is just a time when kids dress up and get free candy, but in reality it's so much more than that. Halloween comes from Ireland and had to do with spirits and pranking. I won't go into more details about this, but I will leave a link to a video about the history of Halloween if you want to know more. Also, every European culture has some kind of a celebration around the fall, which involves the dead and spirits in some way, which is where the spooky image of Halloween comes from. In Finland, we have had a celebration around the fall called Kekri, which was a celebration of the harvest and foods. I will leave a few links to videos if you want to know more about Kekri. So now that we understand that Halloween is really an ancient European tradition, I think it makes it more clear that when schools ban Halloween...
This week, an elementary school in Walpole, Massachusetts announced that it will be canceling Halloween and replacing it with, wait for it, Orange and Black Spirit Day. The school's principal also said in an announcement that the annual Halloween parade would be canceled because it's, quote, not inclusive enough. Many parents and students in the small town have expressed disappointment in this announcement. This was something that the kids in the town looked forward to every year. Of course, this principal never specified which students exactly the parade was not inclusive to. Another great question for this principal is, if Black and Orange Day isn't Halloween, then what is it? Is this all just a big attempt to ban the H word?
What I find just patently absurd in all of this is, in place of the Halloween parade that they're going to do, they will be offering what they call inclusive fall events, like, and I'm not making this up, thematic units of study about the fall. So I'm assuming they're going to be confiscating the bite-sized Butterfingers and giving them like leaves and saying, let's do a lesson on why they change color during this time. That's not what kids want. And the problem is these kids have friends at other schools who will be celebrating, and they're going to be feeling all left out. So I guess equity now means making sure everyone is equally miserable and bored.
And when cities or towns ban trick-or-treating, it's an attack on European traditions, and people should take an issue with it. And speaking up against this has actually worked. For example, last year in Los Angeles, they tried to ban trick-or-treating, but after getting a lot of backlash, they changed their minds. It's also worth pointing out that this kind of behavior is nothing new. There have already been attacks on European celebrations hundreds of years ago. For example, when England was taken over by Oliver Cromwell, the celebrating of Christmas was banned because they saw it as a pagan holiday. But the English were not ready to give up their traditions, just like we should not give up Halloween either.
Clearly, there are concerns when you have a Halloween parade, or Halloween for that matter, about cultural appropriation, racist stereotypes with costumes. But if you address that with the students, why not let them have a parade?
In my opinion, wearing a Native American costume or anything else like that is lame. But at the same time, it's not okay to turn Halloween into a time to teach white kids to feel guilty about their race. If they need to be taught that they can't dress up in any non-white culture, then it should also be taught that it's also not okay to dress up in any white culture either. I made a video about this last year, which you can check out. Now I want to recommend some ways to celebrate Halloween. You see the game footage in this video. That is Five Nights at Freddy's, a horror game, whose creator is another victim of cancel culture, so you could go support him by buying the game. Even better, the game has some pretty good creepypastas made about it, which I recommend watching. Which brings me to another point. Another thing you could do around Halloween is watch or listen to creepypastas. There are these horror stories people have written online, and then people have made videos narrating them on YouTube, which I recommend watching or listening to. I'm gonna leave a link to a playlist of them. Another thing you could do if you hold pro-white views around Halloween, one of the biggest horror writers ever, H.P. Lovecraft, has been recently attacked by a lot of the mainstream media for his views on things like race. So now would be a good time to go and read his work. You can buy it or you can find a ton of narrations of his work on YouTube. So, happy Halloween!
No, I didn't need a single snap, but once a year.